One of the things that I saw that Ernest Holmes wrote was that there is no future to be afraid of and no past to bring discord into the present. You might say, what do you mean, Reverend Celeste? Of course there's a past. Maybe in your mind that's true, but in God's mind, time and space are unknown in mind. Understand when I say mind, I'm talking about the mind of God. You might ask, how do I know what's in God's mind? That you think? Because I live and move and have my being in God's mind. And I also know that because it's the nature of God to be evolving, that it can't help itself. It must continue to evolve as it becomes more of itself. It keeps expressing and creating Horus and Lisa and Abernay and all these different creations. And so what is happening is that God in this realm is not limited to time. If God were limited to time, then God would only be happening in one moment. If God were limited to space, then God would only be happening in one place. But we know that God can happen in a church, in a temple, in a mosque, anywhere. And so the very truth that God is unlimited allows us to move beyond time and space into the eternal reality, which is now. You with me yet? Stay tuned. We can all get caught up in memories about yesterday. So much so that we can't be present right here and right now. I understand. I know. I love hard. So when you hurt my feelings, I feel it hard. And it takes a minute for me to get over that. So whenever someone's behavior starts to look like something that happened before, it triggers that pain. Say, for example, someone says to me that they will not be regularly attending our service anymore. Now, it doesn't matter if that person said it with anger or with sorrow. It doesn't matter if they left because they got a job out of town, or if they're attending class in another county, or decided to go to a church near where they live due to their perceptions about finances, or decided that I was the scourge of the earth and they wanted to get as far away from me as they possibly could. It doesn't matter. It still hurts. And that's the ego talk. I know that. I'm here for people's spiritual growth. And my ego may tell me to think, they're not ready to leave because they haven't got enough spiritual information. They haven't got enough spiritual food yet. That's not to say that they can't get it elsewhere. That's just saying they won't be getting my presentation of it on the regular. So usually with time, you can have something trigger you, and that trigger can trigger you into anger, or that can trigger you into humor, depending on where you are in your spiritual growth. Well, you know, they say time plus pain equals humor, but how it really should go is pain plus healing equals humor. And so, time is irrelevant. All that matters is the eternal now. Here's a basic concept in Science of Mind, and it has to do with the eternal now. The universe exists in the eternal now, each moment complete and perfect within itself. In this universal harmony, justice without judgment is always automatic, an infallible universal principle. There can be no place for divine anger, unforgiveness, or punishment. What's that you say? I know y'all are used to hearing that God is angry.
Oh, yeah.
Y'all are used to hearing that God ain't gonna forgive you, right? And you have some kind of concept that justice means that if somebody done me wrong, then they're gonna get some karmic energy back their way. But I say to you, justice is always automatic. It's because the law is automatic. So the law is automatic because God is everywhere. And one dimension of this God everywhere is that dimension that is receptive and subjective. It just says yes. So whatever you want to plant into this law says yes. And so it doesn't have any kind of filter to say, I don't know if I agree with this or not. It doesn't have any kind of filter to say, well, I'm not going to agree with you because you're in the lower economic class. It doesn't have the capacity to say, I'm not going to go along with that because you're tall. I'm not going to go along with that because you're short. It doesn't have the capacity to say, I'm not going to go along with that because you're white. I'm not going to go along with that because you're black. It doesn't have the capacity to filter because it only knows wholeness. It only knows oneness. It only knows allness. And so it simply says yes to whatever your thought is that you put into the universe. And the universe is everywhere. So anytime you speak your word, including when you speak your word in your mind, because that's what you really believe, regardless of what you want other people to think that you believe, universe says yes. So what we attempt to do as we go through this science of mind is to put into mind that which we want to experience, that which we want to really be able to enjoy. Because that is why justice is always automatic. Sometimes don't you wish there was always a person walking around with you that just says yes all the time? No, you don't. Your ego does. Because it wants to think that everything is about what it will lead you to do. But it ain't gonna happen. There ain't gonna be nobody that's gonna be walking around with you saying yes all the time. Get over it, control freaks. Get over it. Really. Because when we get resistance, that's an indicator that something must shift. And when something shifts, you're not going to get that kind of resistance again because you have shifted. But if you fall back, you know how the old folks say backslide? And when I say old folks, I don't mean of a certain age. I mean people who are thinking old thoughts. Okay? It has little to do with age or time. When we get resistance, there's a misuse of the law happening. You know what I'm saying, Barbara? Something we are saying no to may not show up in the person that we said no to, but it's going to show up. The universe is going to respond in such a way so that we have an understanding that it's time to course correct. Y'all know about course correcting? As if you were a pilot and you ran into some turbulence or you ran into some adverse weather conditions, you would have to change your course in order to stay in the direction that you want to go in. So, if you made an inappropriate choice or if you didn't follow what the air traffic controller said to do, then you're going to have to make a different choice. So sometimes the choice may be not to think rejecting thoughts. I have a family member who is convinced that there are no jobs. Or that there will always be a reason why he can't get a job, experience or age or something, when in truth is that he doesn't believe that he can get a job. In his case, he may not really want a job. We've sufficiently spoiled him so that he thinks he's the Fresh Prince of Chicago, but anyway. It's easy to play victim when you are required to step up and you don't want to step up. So you can just call it a persecution. And you know, you start singing that somebody done me wrong song. But it doesn't mean that the universe isn't going to keep giving you opportunities to get that lesson. It don't have to be me. I surrender. I know that God is infinite. And that there are many ways that God is going to use, that will be the God that is your higher self, that is going to use to bring you to an awareness of who you are. But I'll be doggone if I'm not going to do what I'm being guided to do. Now, what you do with that is on you. I don't take any responsibility. I don't take any responsibility for what black people do. I don't take any responsibility for what women do. I don't take any responsibility for what gay people do. I don't take any responsibility for anybody else because I got a full-time job. Okay? I got my work. Okay? Just like everybody. But in the eternal now, everything is perfect. Everything is complete. And in the universe, there is always harmony. So, if you're not experiencing harmony, then there's something in you that is thinking inharmonious. Breathe. See, your thoughts can get you in trouble. Torment, revealing offenses, unfulfilled blessings, lowering effulgence. Torment, revealing offenses, unfulfilled blessings, lowering effulgence. You're hanging on to that old pain. And what it's revealing are these things that you think were offensive. What happened to me? So these unfulfilled blessings can't get to you because you're in such victim, and here's the blessings trying to come, and you're like, whoa. So the blessings can't come to you, and so in the meantime, that light that is seeking to come from you and that light that is seeking to come toward you cannot connect, and so your effulgence is not shining brightly. That light that is your being is not shining brightly because you're stuck somewhere in the past. Or you're working to get somewhere in the future and you can't see the light that's coming in right here because your eyes are somewhere else. Somebody must hear me. Yeah. It's a stoplight. What is a stoplight? But a signal to stop. Huh? Stop, drop, and roll. That's what you do when there's a fire, right? Stop, drop, and roll. See, hell is right here. You don't need to see the licks of fire at your heels to know that hell is right here. You don't have to go anywhere. Stop, drop, and recognize your role in this outcome. This has nothing to do with God being angry with you. This has nothing to do with God not being willing to forgive you. Ernest Holmes says, there can be no place for divine anger, unforgiveness, or punishment. God does not punish you. You are angry with you. You have not forgiven yourself. You are punishing yourself. Breathe. Because it's true. I know it's a hard pill to swallow. Y'all know I don't sugarcoat things. You don't know me, but you already know that, huh? She's shaking her head, nobody else is doing it, right? Jesus said, either produce like a good tree with good fruits, or produce like a bad tree with bad fruits. for a tree is known by its fruits. In Matthew, they asked Jesus, 18:21 through 35, how many times must I forgive? Who's here for Edwin Gaines of the week? Did she back me up when I told you that prosperity has to do with forgiveness? All right. Forgive 70 times 7. Okay. It's all right. I'm still shining my light. So Jesus went on to tell a story about how the king took an accounting of his servants. And one of his servants owed him 10,000 talents. So he said, oh, Lord, please forgive me, because he didn't want the king to jail him or punish him or do whatever he was going to do. This is me paraphrasing the Bible. It's all right. God means for you to get the message, not the word. He said, all right, I'll forgive you. Go on about your business. This same dude, right, sees homeboy that owes him 100 pennies. You go, whoa, homie, you owe me 100 pennies. Right? He's like, dude, I'm sorry, please forgive me, please forgive me. No! You know, and then, you know, people are watching. Somebody's always watching. So the people that were watching went back to the king and said, you know that dude that you just let off the hook? He just blasted this dude, just totally went off on him about some 100 pennies that he owed him, and he owes you 10,000 talents. The king is like, all right, bring him here. Oh yeah, how you doing? So I'll let you go and you jump up on homeboy, right? He said, okay, I got something for you. Now you are going to go to jail. Now, he had to go to jail until he would pay anything. Now, he could have put him in jail for much more than that, because in the story, Jesus said he was like choking a dude that owed him money, 100 pennies, right? He's choking a dude that owes him $1, right? And he owes somebody else $10,000. So it has nothing to do with God being angry with you. See, it just comes back around because the universe is always saying yes. So his perception was that his nature is to be unforgiving. And because he perceived that his nature was to be unforgiving, the universe said, yes, your nature is to be unforgiving. And since your nature is that same nature of everyone, therefore, you are not to be forgiven. Okay, so that had nothing to do with the benevolent universe that is always seeking to support us and guide us into becoming the loving, giving, expressive, generous, joyful beings that we truly are in essence. Ernest Holmes says the worldly suffering resulting from misuse or ignorance of the law automatically ceases when the misuse or ignorance ceases. This is called God's forgiveness, but it's simply the working out of impersonal principle. Y'all got that? This is why those people are threatening the judge, the jury, the defendant, the attorney. Huh? Anybody have anything to do with not persecuting this woman must die. Okay. Kaylee is really cute. She seemed like she was a really nice little girl. She seemed like she was really loving life. They don't love Kaylee that much to be able to kill somebody. It's really not about Kaylee. It's really not about Kaylee. What they are experiencing is their own pain and anger from being vulnerable to someone who they feel destroyed their innocence. It's about their pain that they have of about being vulnerable to someone who they feel hurt them and against whom they felt helpless. And so it's that anger, it's that festering unforgiveness that they have about their accuser and about themselves for allowing that to happen. We all have it. What they really want to destroy is their pain. Meanwhile, they're letting their pain kill them. The diabetes is longing for what might have been. Sorrow. The high cholesterol is clogging the channels of joy. Fear of accepting joy. They now believe that they don't deserve joy. You know, we're having a workshop in a couple of weeks from tomorrow. The EFT workshop, we're having it over at University Church. Because 85% of all illnesses are based on unresolved emotional issues. So, put it out there to you again, get your healing. Because you want to be back in your humor. Pain plus healing equals humor, remember? Holmes says, neither the consciousness of spirit nor the laws of the universe hold anything against us. Whenever we turn to them in recognition and acceptance, they immediately flow through us, imparting the divine givingness. Divine givingness is here, y'all. It's the divine givingness that's coming through the therapists that are so avidly calling up to be a part of the healing process for the Anthony family for free. They want to bring the divine givingness. They want to be that divine energy that is helping that family heal because, whoo, Lord, there's a lot of pain. I saw divine givingness in the compassion of that young lady, J.C. Dugard. Y'all see her? She was abducted at the age of 11, going home from school. Mr. Garrido, Philip Garrido, shoots a stun gun at her, drags her in his car, holds her captive for 18 years, fathers 2 children. She delivers the babies in her backyard, in his backyard, which is basically her bedroom prison. But I saw compassion in J.C. Dugard. She was giving an interview to Diane Sawyer. Oh, by the way, how he was caught is that he was giving out religious pamphlets at the University of California. He was pretending to be a religious person. But anyway, her mother was persecuting herself for 18 years. Because she had been late to work twice. And she didn't want to be late to work a third day, so she did not kiss her girls before she left home that day. And she couldn't forgive herself that, knowing this, that she didn't take that moment to kiss her child. And now the child is gone. And J.C. looked at her mama and said, you had nowhere to go. Now, she was determined how she has been able to survive all this time was that she was determined to protect her daughter, J.C. was. Even though they were made from her oppressor, she felt that she wasn't alone. Y'all can watch it tonight. It'll be on prime time. it was more important for her to be there for her daughter because she didn't want her first daughter and then neither daughter, when her second daughter came along, to be in danger. So she was living to be there for them. That's how divine givingness works. Human forgiveness is the process that frees us to live in the eternal now. It is essential that we wholly forgive ourselves and all others before real spiritual growth can flourish. J.C. Dugard is happy just to be able to write her own name. He finally did let them, move freely around the city. But she had to write her name that he gave her and not her own name. So her joy now is to be able to write her name. Her joy now is to be able to spend time with her mother. Her joy now is to be able to spend time with her daughters. Her joy is that she's not going to let him own her. Her joy is that she's not going to be afraid. Because all this comes out of fear, I know it. But perfect love casts out all fear, yes? Yes. So if I'm holding on to old resentments, if there's a real or imagined injury that I have that I haven't wholly forgiven, there's an insurmountable block in my path of my spiritual progress. To free myself, I must totally and genuinely both forgive myself and all others who I believe have injured me. Now here's the healing part. Say in the case of somebody leaving the church, for example. What my ego is trying to suggest is that they are rejecting me. And what I know in absolute is they cannot possibly be rejecting me because they love me. It's true. Amen. You can laugh. Actually, I wrote that in my notes. You can laugh. But it's true. And that's not the part that's egotistical. I told y'all on more than one occasion about a spiritual breakthrough that I had in practitioner training when I was in a class that was on sexuality. And I told y'all that it wasn't that, I told y'all about me releasing the pain of the self-imposed racism, the self-imposed sexism, the self-imposed homophobia, the self-imposed religious condemnation. But what it was really about was the fact that because the divine lives in them and the divine lives in me, their God loves me and my God loves them. They don't even have to know that they love me. I wrote about this. I wrote it in Inhibitions. I've written about it in different ways. They may be under the illusion that they don't love you, but they can't help loving you. I want y'all to breathe that in. Just close your eyes and breathe in that everything that has life is loving you now. God is ever loving itself. And it is God's loving of itself that brings things into creation. So I invite you to know, if your loving yourself is dependent on somebody else loving you, it's okay, they love you. They do. The human mind doesn't even have to know that because the divine mind does. The divine heart is doing nothing but loving. So I invite you to be present right here, right now, because in this now moment, all is well. Not about what's going to happen tomorrow. It's not about what's going to happen, what happened yesterday. Right here in this now moment, all is well. So in being in the present, you have the capacity to be the present. You have the capacity to be the divine givingness. You have the capacity to be the creative person. Because now you're using all this loving energy that you have to gift it to your beloveds who are everywhere. Everywhere. So if you're holding anything back from your beloved ones, which is everyone, everywhere, and yourself, you're missing an opportunity to gift yourself. You're missing an opportunity to gift others. I don't want you to miss out on any opportunities. We want you to step into your greatness, remember, with infinite possibilities available. And the way to do that is to let yourself be in this now moment. Let yourself love yourself. Let yourself love, be who you are. And what is unfolding is your great gift that you have to give to the world. And that is you. I invite you to be free, to be in the present. Ask